So let's talk about like who's playing on this.
Okay, so myself on the I play the mandolin, and then Alex Hargraves, incredible fiddle player, one of the best in the world, who I grew up with out in Oregon, and he happens to be one of my roommates too, if you can believe that. And he's an absurd fiddle player, and then a crazy cat named Stash Weislouch from Boston, one of my best friends, incredible guitar player, has his own band, and then Jeff Picker, who's a fantastic bass player, plays for Ricky Skaggs and Kentucky Thunder.
Oh wow! Yeah, we just saw them at
Fresh Grass?
Yeah, Fresh Grass.
Yeah, Jeff just moved to Nashville a few months ago. Seems to be crushing it down there.
Oh, cool. Wait, so he was playing with Ricky Skaggs before he moved to Nashville?
No, it coincided. I moved there before that came.
So he's new
to Nashville.
New to the band though?
Yeah, he just joined Ricky's band.
The maple syrup. Thanks for sending that along. I didn't get to have any actually. I can't remember who took it. But we left the bus early Monday morning. I had my hands full of snowboards and basses. I did not have any free space to take the generous offering of maple syrup.
This was up at Winter Wondergrass, I take it?
Yeah. David was nice enough to gift us some real maple syrup.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I'm sure someone took it though. It's not gonna go away. I appreciate it. Are you guys doing a Winter Wondergrass this year?
I'm not sure. I'm not totally positive.
There's a few of them there.
There's a few of them now. Yeah, we did last year. Yeah. Last year I played at Wintergrass on Friday, and then flew to Winter Wondergrass and played like Saturday night. And flew back to Wintergrass and played Sunday night. Or maybe it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But
is Wintergrass? Is that the thing in Massachusetts?
Wintergrass is festival in Bellevue, Washington.
Okay.
It's a great festival.
Actually, I don't know if everyone's ever done it.
It's winter too, but it's not outside. So it's warm.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's warmer.
Oh, I love the upright tone of this.
Yeah.
It's so hard to get that to stick out. My first instinct was to get it right, but it's very relative.
Totally.
Some people just want the woofy low end, but I like to hear the mid range.
Totally.
In the front of the note. This track that I'm talking over, it's
Dave Cinco, who's the front of house engineer for Punch Brothers, an incredible recording engineer. He recorded this. We recorded it all live in one room. Just a bunch of super nice mics and preamps, and just he's brilliant when it comes to mic placement, EQ, and all that.
Dude, it's such. I mean, I play the damn instrument, and I spend time recording it at home. It's so hard to get to really just. I mean, part of it. Is this a bass solo?
There's a little snippet. There's another one later. There's several bass solos in this.
It's also the mix, like what instruments you're trying to blend it with.
Yeah.
It's a beast.
Totally.
But I love when I hear it. I really hear it really well.
Yeah, Dave does a good job, to say the least.
So this is Instrumentals Vol.1. Are we going to get vocalmentals at some point?
I'm trying to put off recording my own singing as long as possible. It's inevitable because when I play live with Yonder and with my group, there's a lot of singing involved. So that'll probably happen eventually. But it's, I only write instrumental music, so that's part of the reason why. So just like recording instrumentals, but probably because I'm more comfortable with that.
Oh, dude, I get it. I mean, having spent the early part of my career recording instrumental music and writing, it's really moving on into more traditional-ish songwriting. It's I don't know, man. I get it. It's hard. You will deliberate 10 times as long
over vocal takes and stuff. Yeah,
just because it's like maybe it's just me. Maybe other vocalists, if there are some, can chime in if you want. But you just, no matter how good you ever feel you are at singing, which is always an evolving process. It's just even the sound of your own voice. You always have that feeling of it's like hearing yourself on the answering machine.
Totally, man.
We had answering machines. It's always like
I know.
such a weird thing. Whereas your instrument,
Totally.
not. I don't know. There's a disconnect. It just makes you obsess and re-obsess.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hi, Terry. Hi, Jesse. This is why I haven't called you yet today. I've been doing this all day. Plug my phone in, actually.
Hey, what's up, Steve?
Jesse,
Blanchard's in there.
Jesse is he's one of the video guys at No Coast.
Oh, cool.
He's probably filmed some of your Red Rock shows.
Cool. Thank you, Tommy. This is a little window into my Brooklyn apartment. I don't know if you can see all the barbed wire and giant fence out there.
Coming back over the IKEA table. Doing it, the IKEA table. No offense if it's not IKEA. It's like definitely way more expensive.
No, it's IKEA. You can't really see anything that's not IKEA from where we sit right now.
Yeah, that's it. New York City vibes. This is where all the hot picking happens.
Chain link fence, barbed wire on top, sketchy alleyway. That's inspiring.
Yeah. It actually is for some of us.
Yeah.
Jake and I were talking about this on the old walk to the coffee shop before the session. Some people are barbed wire alley New York City vibe, and some people are Colorado mountains, really friendly West Coast.
It's true.
So don't hold us against this. We were born here. We just came for the awkward vibes and shitty weather.
Because you're from Florida.
Yeah.
I'm from Oregon, so we're both from pretty far.
Yeah. The vibe wasn't shitty enough where we lived, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's here earlier. Yeah, I hear you, Jonathan. He's going back to the topic of singing versus instrumental.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, those were some fun shows, actually. Syracuse. So you're talking about David when we were doing the Co-Bill run. That was like your first months in the band.
That was literally my first tour.
Yeah. I assume that's what he's talking about.
It was that, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the first show was Omaha, and we didn't get a sound check. I remember that well.
Oh boy, I remember that too.
Yeah, tips on shredding Mando with nonchalant stage presence that looks effortless. I'd say just as a starting point, just try to lack the natural charisma of your Billy Strings and Alley Crawls, kind of go for a statuesque thing that's totally based on just general awkwardness, That's my advice. Just don't be comfortable with yourself enough to move at all. And that'd be my advice.
That was awesome.
And then what helps if you take a couple melted marshmallows and put them on the bottom of each shoe, so you basically can't lift your feet without a huge amount of effort. That was pretty good training for me.
Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah, that happens. Oh, Chris Good asks about a Jolliff tour, referencing a post about a show I'm doing with my dad and my sister. Getting them on tour, I don't know. I think if we could be in the car with one another for more than 45 minutes without getting into a fight about where we're going to eat, Actually, that's not true. We get along great, but a tour is a little hard to imagine.
The homeschool method. Were you homeschooled?
Oh, what do we got here? I was wondering how long it would take for homeschooling to get brought up. Well, we made it a whole 8 minutes. Yeah, the homeschool method. That's the big too awkward to move around, I think he's referencing. Yeah, I'm sure they're correlated. Yeah, don't be around people for the first 18 years of your life, and then get on
Were you
stage.
homeschooled all through?
I was.
Wow.
I was actually around a lot of people because I was gigging a lot as a kid in high school. But yeah, my first classroom experience was basically driver's ed and then college.
Wow. And you went to school
At Berkeley,
You did
in Boston. Yeah. It wasn't actually a big adjustment, honestly. It was kind of a blast from the very beginning. It was kind of like, oh, that's right. It's more fun to hang out with people. than
Well,
just a
college,
mandolin.
that's also different because you're plopped into school with
Yeah.
people all doing the same thing as you.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, sure, David. It was nothing. It's the truth.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I know some people that were homeschooled. And it's different when you're, like I knew one person, actually a girlfriend of mine when I was younger. She was homeschooled her whole life until something's happened.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's
Yeah.
called dynamics,
It
Andrew.
was weird. How did it got like? I wondered if it was something happening here.
Oh, it could be.
She was homeschooled her whole life until like what would be her junior year of high school, and they were like, "Yeah, you're just gonna go to school now."
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
think
in
that
some
was-
ways it might be easier to jump right into college because at that point, especially when you go to music school, you're around a lot of people that have been kind of doing what you've been doing.
Yeah,
Just playing music the whole time.
smaller class. You're not in school all day too.
No.
You know, when I went to that was the shock for me when I went to college.
Yeah.
It was like I only go to class for like 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah. It's pretty dope.
It was like, what do you do with yourself?
Practice.
Yeah, practice. Actually, a lot of my time was eaten up with doing a lot of ensembles, and I took
Oh, yeah.
because I was so behind on the upright bass. I got to college without never having a lesson.
Oh, wow.
On upright bass, and so I took like 7 years of lessons in 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So it was like doing that stuff and doing small ensemble, big ensemble, and
Yeah.
and that ate up loads of time. Still had to practice though.
Yeah, I didn't do much in college other than practice, to be honest. I mean, I hung out with other people that were also practicing.
Yeah.
And there were buddies of mine, we would get like energy drinks, like nasty energy drinks, and like go to the practice rooms and stay up all night,
Yeah.
just shedding away, just drinking the nastiest monster drinks. Ugh. It sounds kind of awful now, actually, that I think about it, but we thought it was fun.
Yeah. Do you have a preferred mandolin?
Oh yeah, the one I have, the one I own. It's definitely my preferred. I recently got a Gilchrist last year. Was fortunate enough to get to become, in possession of one of those. And
How many mandolins did you play before you decided on?
Oh, I've never been a big mandolin shopper. This particular one I ordered. Gil made me a tone bar one and an X-Braced one, and then I went to Nashville and I played them for a few days, and I picked the X-Braced one.
Wow.
But before that, I played this Gibson Sam Bush mandolin for 10 years that I got in a contest, and I kind of don't really think about my instrument much unless it's broken.
Wow.
In some way. And
That surprised me a lot because usually mandolin is it's so different than, like electric bass, for example. I mean, upright bass is similar, but it's such a personal, like mandolin players, they get one instrument, and it's like, it becomes like such an extension of you.
Well, yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to have had a nice instrument for a long time, so I don't think I would play any instrument by any means. Like this particular Gilchrist is one of the nicest mandolins I've ever. Definitely the nicest new.
No, I know that, but I mean I know other mandolin players that have had nice instruments, and when they go to get a new one, there's this long, like, they have to sit for hours or days and try to, before they can really commit, because it's such an intense thing that you get tied to. Whereas like electric instruments, it's such a different thing. And I was thinking about it yesterday because. It's like, I wonder, do people who play those, and they're very expensive, even for like a decent one, it's like, I mean, for probably a cheap mandolin, it's like an expensive electric bass.
Absolutely.
And I was like, do we get Are we getting away? You know, like do like mandolin players get pissed because we don't have the like an expensive instrument is like a cheap one? And then I looked around my room and I was like, actually, the amount of money I've spent on the variety of electric instruments that you need. Oh, I'm gonna say need. You know, like I get a short scale, a 4-string, well, 2 4-strings, 2 5-strings, and they do different things.
Yeah.
You know. I probably spent as much as
probably so.
You know, like
yeah.
And that's not even counting my upright basses.
Yeah, most mandolinists don't have the budget to really have a room full of them.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, for me, you know, I picked between these 2 Gilchrists, which you know both were amazing. But this one, I played it for within 30 seconds. I was pretty sure.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, because I don't know. I don't think really analytically about instruments, and it's more just. If I'm enjoying playing it, and you know, obviously I was enjoying playing that one.
No, that's a good way to be. I mean,
yeah. But I respect people who have the ability to really evaluate tone in an analytical way and break down the different aspects of it.
I tell you what, man, it's a blessing and a curse. I've gotten that way about. I definitely am like. My brain works that way.
Yeah.
And it sucks sometimes because you can't get out of your head sometimes.
Right.
You know, if it's not, it's great because when everything sounds good, you get really inspired and fired up, and you you get a real high out of playing. When it's not, when something's off just a little, it keeps you from having fun in a way. It's like it's trapping and confining and not cool. And sometimes I wish that. I'm like, I wish I could be not thinking about this amp or this.
Yeah.
Like my action is like this much higher, and you know what I mean?
Totally.
I just want to play.
Now here's an interesting question. Thoughts and opinions on playing over Coltrane's Giant Steps. Any experience doing so? Thoughts on expanding into the jazz world in general? I work on all of that stuff a lot. I take a lot of lessons when it comes to playing jazz, and I have worked on that tune some. I certainly do suck at it. But I mean, it's like anything else. You practice it in a million different ways, and then they come together, and then you hopefully feel a certain degree of comfort playing over it. Not to say that I do at all, but there's, you know, for any tune, there's a million approaches. I mean, the last thing I was doing with Giant Steps was trying to really play the melody in more than just a totally straight way, and jump in and out of the melody to try to not just think of it as a series of chords in a melody, but hear them simultaneously, which I feel like it's hard for me to do with that tune, even though that might be what I would do with like a tune like Donna Lee or something. I could always tell you where in the melody the form is.
Well, see, that's the beautiful thing about that tune to me, because that's actually Giant Steps is a tune that I had to play that thing a million times, doing the jazz thing, but it's a melody that a bass player can play.
Right.
It's a head that I used to love to play that song, at least from the melody standpoint, where it's like, yeah, Donna Lee, a bass player can do it too.
Right.
Jacko's in it, but it's like it doesn't sound great on the bass per se. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Whereas the Giant Steps melody does. And
Yeah,
it's crazy that it has
totally.
that tune has such crazy chord changes, but
I know
such a singable melody.
it is, but for some reason it's still hard for me to sort of hold the melody and the chords in my head at the same time in a way that like all the things you are or something I can hear.
Justin, no, I'm doing Christmas Jam again. Dwayne just did it 1 year. That was quite some time ago. I didn't even think to ask Dwayne this year. Normally, I have my friend John Davis play with me, who actually lives in New York. He's actually really one of the more respected jazz drummers right here now. He plays with Cassandra Wilson and Ben Williams, Etienne Charles, a lot of great names, and he's done it with me for the last 4 or 5 years since Dwayne played with me, but he couldn't make it this year. I tried to get Mark back down there with me. Mark Radabaugh played with me in the Code Talkers back in the day, but yeah, none of them could make it. This guy named Mike Tillis is going to play this. Plays a band called the Fritz. But yeah, this Saturday actually, it's going down.
Where's that?
Fernandina Beach. Yeah, I gotta fly tomorrow night. I somehow have to get my electric bass, my pedals, my acoustic guitar, my clothes, my toddler in her car seat to the airport.
Jeez.
Yeah. So.
It's like flying out of New York in the evening or in the morning usually. What do you usually do?
I guess it depends on where we're going. Yeah. For a tour anyway. It all depends on where we're going. When we go to the West Coast, we fly later in the day.
Yeah.
Because of the time change.
Sure.
I'm flying 9:30 tomorrow night just because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
Alex, yeah, almost. I tried to get the stick man, Mark Radabaugh, to play in Fernandina with me, but he couldn't do it. But yeah, we've been collaborating via internet. So Jake and I just did one of these as part of these listening lounge sessions. We get together, we do a tune beforehand, we come up with one just spontaneously. We just did some recording, and Mark has actually been playing drums on a lot of those via internet. So could be more of that. Let's talk more about the record.
Sure.
We covered who's on there.
Yep.
What now? You told me you just booked the studio time.
I did. Yeah.
Did you book the studio time and then go, oh shit, I need to write the tunes? Or did you get there and you guys sort of...
Oh no, this is all pretty arranged, and there's some difficult tunes and a lot of difficult parts for the fiddle and guitar and stuff. So I think we decided on the days about 6 months out, booked the studio time, did all that logistics, and then had a 3-day rehearsal and then a 2-day rehearsal, and then went in. And all the I did write most of the tunes after booking the time. I had a couple, but mostly all wrote them like up against the clock, and had arrangements. I wrote all the arrangements too, which obviously got edited a lot over the rehearsal days. But the general gist of each song I came up with, including some parts that various people play. But there was basically no charts involved in the whole thing. Yeah. So it was all basically by ear, which like I playing with Alex and Stash and Jeff, they pick up stuff like insanely fast.
Yeah.
Alex, you can play a crazy 16th note melody and he'll have it within 5 minutes. You'd be surprised if it takes longer than 5 minutes.
That's one thing I lament about my instrument and its role in the way. I mean, now there's plenty of bass players that have a great ear for melody, but the way I always approach music was from the harmony standpoint.
Sure.
And I'm that way with changes, especially with doing the jazz thing. I got to where, learning standards and I listened to the tune twice and I had the changes.
Right.
But my ear just I never worked on melody in that way. So now lately I've been having a bit of a practicing renaissance. I've been working more on my soloing again, which I did that very heavily probably 10 years ago, but I laid off to put time into the songwriting.
Yeah.
And now just for fun, I've been trying to get back into it, and it's like just realizing the shortcomings I have in picking out melody quickly.
Sure.
And it's like, man, I wish I'd just put more time. I mean, I can do it now, but it's it's years of.
Yeah.
Do I have years to spend on that, or do I want?
It gets better pretty fast though. Like even just I've done a lot of transcribing, and I've been on a transcribing kick in the last week, and just doing it every day. Even, I use my ears all the time, but using them to like learn a Clifford Brown line is a different vibe than just like using them to play off another instrumentalist.
Yeah.
So, but doing that a little bit every day, just like anything.
Yeah. I know that's what I need to do, but you reach a point after a while, you further into your career in your life, where you're like, how much time do I want to spend on input versus output?
Totally.
This is a lesson, young musicians. Get ready, buckle up. When you're young, it's about input. Get all you can, because later it's about output.
I have trouble making that jump though. I feel like my life a lot of times is mostly about the input. When I'm home, I'm just practicing and transcribing, learning new tunes, and then the output I more have to force myself to do.
Well, I would also add to that to put less pressure on yourself, because you're, as a soloist, that is output. The stuff that you transcribe and learn because you solo so much, that is output. Whereas like for a bass player, because I don't solo very often, the amount of work for me to put into developing the skill. I mean, I can do it, but not on the level that you guys do without putting in.
Sure.
You know, to get to the Jocko, O'Teal, all these, you know, Scott LaFaro, you have to put as much time in as you guys do, and maybe more because your instrument is so much harder to play fast. But to put that time in to play like one solo like every 3 nights.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't. Might not be the best use.
Yeah.
Of time, I guess. Unless you just like it, you know. Unless you
right.
New.
I do like it, but I don't know. I mean,
so many hours in the day, though.
Well, or you have to rearrange your career around that.
Yeah.
Being an instrumental bassist, you know what I mean? Like that's what you do.
That's what you do. Yeah.
My thing is, I'm a bass player who writes some music around me taking solos. That has to be your thing.
Right.
I made that decision quite a while ago. That like I don't know that's going to be my thing.
Let's see, what are your thoughts after sharing a few nights with Ronnie McCurry or any of your other mandolin heroes? Anything in particular as far as applies to your playing? Well, yeah, my band, the Jake Jolliff Band, we just did a few shows with the Traveling McCurrys, and I think that's what Michael is referencing. And it was, I mean, it's always an inspiration. Ronnie's been one of my biggest heroes for 20 years. I'm 30 now. Yeah, and I was definitely listening to him by the time I was 10. So, and it's always an inspiration.
Let's hear a list of mandolin heroes.
Well, you know, to be honest, Ronnie's was probably the most consistent one, and still is. And then, you know, obviously, you know, David Grisman, Chris Thiele. You know, he's pretty undeniable in this day and age.
See now, Thiele, I understand. I mean, not being, you know. I hear plenty of mandolin playing, but obviously not a super mandolin fanboy. Not being my main instrument. Thiele I get, but Ronnie you don't hear as often. From anyone other than mandolin players.
From mandolinists.
So initiate the uninitiated.
Yeah, I think, you know, if you are deep into the mandolin at all, it's pretty obvious why. Just because his touch is so amazing, tone. He comes straight out of the Bill Monroe traditional bluegrass idiom, but with a really nuanced take. And he's been part of a lot of really influential bluegrass being made. I mean, but yeah, just standing across from him playing, you know, it's just like nobody has the touch that he has on the instrument, and it's one of those ephemeral things almost, where it's like he's just that much better, but it's sometimes hard to put your finger on it almost.
That's why I'm curious to hear the mandolinist take.
But I mean,
I have heard him a lot, you know, because we play with the McCurrys too.
For sure.
But you know, like I said, not being my big frame of reference for mandolin is through. You know, I mean, I obviously have heard John play a lot because I play with him all the time.
Totally.
You know, and some of the other players in our scene, you know, but even them, it's in our bands in our scene, it's different. It's not about them as soloists as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Paul is, I think, a songwriter first, for example, and even Jeff, you know, before in Yonder, it's a different thing.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Whereas like a Thiele.
Well, I mean, the Thiele and Ronnie, I mean, they obviously come out of bluegrass.
Yeah.
Not jam, and so do I. You know, really. I mean, I played in the jam scene, and it's a blast, and it's ridiculous to get to take super long mandolin solos for a living. Yeah. But I, you know, definitely was grounded in bluegrass. Yeah. You know, and continue to be.
Right. There's a question for you.
Pre-show warm-ups do you do? In particular, see, I'll read it maybe more clearly. Jake, do you have any pre-show warm-ups? Do you do anything in particular that you do before each show to get you ready? Talking as someone who would like to get into performing, and it's all a little intimidating. You know, not really. I used to kind of warm up. That was a big part of how I sort of conceptualized practicing and stuff. Now my practicing is sort of the same regardless of whether I'm going on stage. If it's something really difficult I'm playing right then, then of course I'll practice that particular thing. But if it's just sort of another night playing, a lot of times the best way to warm up for me is to not think about what I'm about to play and really get inside something else. You know, if it's a bebop solo or another piece of music, or an exercise. Really just focus on that. Anything that kind of makes my fingers do something they're not used to. Then if I jump in and I'm playing something kind of unrelated with Yonder or my band, it's for me a good way to warm up versus just sort of running random scales or something. So basically,
I remember that first tour we did with you guys. When you first joined the band.
Yep.
It was cool, man. Jake was that dude. He was out there had the metronome on. For sure, like half of us are like standing around looking at our phones, just you know what I mean, like not playing and.
Yeah. So I guess to answer your question, like I practice all the time.
Yeah.
I don't really reconceptualize it for the sake of warming up. I mean, it also could be that I don't get. I'm always pretty warmed up because I play so much. It's like
How much do you play before a show?
I mean, on tour with Yonder, I could say like I practice at least 2 hours a day, and then play with the band some, sound check. At home. Yeah, practice 2 or 3 hours a day, teach some lessons, maybe have a rehearsal, maybe have a gig.
Yeah. So I was curious about the show because it's a little bit different for a bass player. Like when I first joined Railroad, I would do this a lot. I would get into the venue and I'd get my bass out and try to work on things. Do my classical stuff at the bow, but it was very counter. It started to get counterproductive because I would actually get myself worn out because this bass takes so much effort. The bass, upright bass, really, you really have to take this approach of like athletes do in a way. This is gonna be a weird analogy, but where you do all your working out before the season.
Totally.
Like baseball season, you play every day. You can't. These guys aren't doing the bench press before that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man.
You can't. You'd be worn out. So I found that at least with the upright bass. I really can't practice it before shows. Maybe if it's the first night of tour, but I find that if we do 4 or 5 nights in a row, by night 4 and 5, I'm like, even by the time the show starts and not having played at all, I'm still like.
On the night before.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah. I've actually.
It's just that instrument.
Well, for sure, it's way more physical. But I actually notice when I take a day off, sometimes I end up playing better that night because I think my hands are worn down a lot. To me, I guess I'm a little too obsessed with it, and I mean, to be worn out playing the mandolin is different than worn out playing the bass.
But it still happens.
It happens. That's what I'm saying. Like for me, sometimes I'm just like, fuck it. Like, yeah, I'm gonna be a little worn out, but like I'm a little too obsessed to not do it. Still.
Yeah.
So it still happens. I've also I used to have super high action, and I still use really heavy strings, but I've lowered my action for the sake of the long shows we play. Yeah, it's like now I'm going to be holding a G chop chord for 2.5 hours, or some. It doesn't need to be super high, and I'm playing through a pickup. So
I went through that back and forth with the upright, but to get the sound out of it, you just can't. It's especially playing this style of music. It's different if you're playing jazz, where you can be a little more delicate and you need the facility. But man, so much of how we do is like. Getting the punch out of the instrument, especially at least in our band. Playing a drum set and through it, I play through an 810 cabinet because I'm also playing electric bass. So you really have to if your action's all low, it's like you're in feedback and you have no punch. It's tough.
Yeah, on the mandolin, it's like I like having high action for the acoustic tone. But it makes a pretty small difference through a pickup.
No, I know.
You know what I mean? And in fact, interestingly, I find that playing lighter through a pickup sounds better.
Yeah.
Versus I've always been one that loves to play and dig in and kind of shine in a loud bluegrass type of gig.
Yeah.
But it actually I think sounds better when I hear recordings with Yonder when I'm playing lighter. Because if it's light but super even, and then that gets blown up by the sound system in a big way.
You're totally right.
You know what I mean?
And I'll say I've heard other mandolin players that do the opposite. That you don't have one name, but
sure.
That sometimes I feel like it doesn't translate, and that's not an insult to their playing because they're around a mic it would sound great, but through a pickup it just sounds like it almost gets smaller in a way.
It just
gets
that's
compressed.
So weird. Right. And so if you compress it yourself by playing it at an even, quieter volume, that sounds amazing. Actually, I think John does a great job.
John does that. He totally does
a really great job of playing with this really nice touch, and it translates super well over the pickup.
Well, John was a piano player first, so his thing is very much he's like playing keyboards. In the band, he views his role as like he's almost playing keyboard on the mandolin.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's not to take away from he has done his homework on the instrument. He knows
for sure.
He probably knows more bluegrass standards than any of the rest of us. Andy knew a lot.
Yeah.
Tim knows a lot too, but I feel like John really has
for sure
a lot of those tunes down. He knows all of them, and he does his warm ups before the show. We're playing classical pieces.
Oh right, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a really cool perspective.
Yeah,
being a mandolinist that also plays the piano.
Yeah, This probably. I know you gotta go soon. There's another question. We can probably.
Oh yeah, here we go. Jake, fellow mandolin players here. You're a part of a great list of players who inspire me to play. One technique, scales, concept, etc. Would you recommend that would help anyone who is attempting to improve soloing over bluegrass jam stuff? Transcribing, I think it's kind of. I'm kind of on a kick, like I said earlier, but it really kills a lot of birds with one stone. The technique. I think learning a solo is sort of infinitely better exercise than something that's just an exercise, because you're actually learning music when you do it.
Yeah, that's totally true.
You know what I mean?
But that's a good way to articulate it.
Yeah, because any one solo or even an 8-bar phrase might tackle several different avenues of technique, but then also there's dynamics and phrasing that you're also learning. And if you just play scales, then and I've been the guy that just plays scales, then when you go to improvise, it also just sounds like scales. Yeah. And that's not to say you should never do that, but I would, if you have half an hour a day, learn a new tune in that half an hour. A new tune, that can be transcribing too. Transcribe a new tune and do it really well. Learn a precise version and think about the dynamics and and the more precise you can do any of it. If you're going to learn Ashram Breakdown, learn it from Kenny Baker. Look, Kenny Baker recording. Don't just sort of and approximate the melody. I'd
add to that even a way, if it seems daunting, an easy way to do that is just pick. If there's a solo you like, your favorite Jake Jolliff solo. For example, you take whatever piece of it caught your ear.
The one you hate the least.
Yeah.
You must have one you hate the least.
The part.
I'm not saying I do.
The part that catches your ear the most, that inspires you, just learn that piece, or even the notes that catch you. So, like, as a bass player, I never did a lot of. We talked about this earlier, a lot of melodic transcribing. I was always focused on the harmony, because that was always my role. But I just love the way Miles Davis, his note choices. So what I would do, rather than transcribe his whole solos, that one part of a melody that I could always sing, and that the color it added to the song, I would find out even just what that note was. He would lean on this one note that just opened up the color of the chord, and it's the 9. So now no matter which song you're playing, the 9 gives you that color, or the 13 or whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be a whole solo. It could literally be just one little component that you can then make your own, that's the end of the record.
I know. I see your question, David. I'm going to keep it brief. I've been playing, I guess, 20 years now, 22 maybe. And that's the short answer. But Jake's got to go. He's got a 3:00 engagement. So just want to say thanks, Records Killer.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I do appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
We'll see you do more of this soon. Go check out Jake's record, and he's got a lot. You got a show coming up soon? You want to talk about?
Yonder's playing in St. Louis. That's the next thing I'm doing. 2 nights at Del Mar Hall. Mm-hmm. And after that, we go on winter tour.
Or Jake shows.
There's some Jacob Jolliff Band shows in the next one is in New York on the 6th of January. So
I will probably be in New Orleans making a new Railroad Earth record.
Oh, nice.
But if not, I got to come check one out soon.
Yeah, thanks, man.
But thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
See you later.